Do you feel stuck in sin and find yourself repeating the same sin over and over again? Are you perhaps planning your next sin and struggle to think of saying no to that nasty temptation? Why do we fall into the trap all the time? Is there any true help out there? 1 Corinthians 10:13. The temptations in your life are no different from what others experience. And God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than what you can stand. When you are tempted, He will show you a way out so that you can endure. Is it even possible to be able to get rid of this problem of mine? Well, let's first think about this. It boils down to this. I struggle to say no because of the devil's description of sin. Think about it. It has to do with his presentation of sin. And he calls his marketing presentation temptation. And he invites me to look at sin in a specific way. He will show me the pleasure with the added satisfaction guarantee. The temptation advert will say instant gratification. He will put emphasis on the joy and excitement you'll experience. He focuses on the instant relief I will get. His marketing strategy will zoom into the satisfaction of the here and now. And wait, there's even more, you'll say. Accept this temptation right now and receive an even quicker access to more temptations in your next visit. He will tell me, do not wait any longer. Get that nasty itch scratched right now. What is he doing? Why do his temptations work so well? Why is it always so strong? Here's his sales secret. He focuses on the beginning experience of sin. Only the instant gratification. Now, how do we respond to his marketing pitch? We say to ourselves, it will harm no one. I will only do it once. I will really enjoy it a lot. And I deserve it. Well, everybody's doing it. What's the big deal? You'll speak to yourself and say, if you really love yourself, you will do it. You see, we force ourselves to only look at the exhilarating and joyful beginning of the experience as presented to us by the enemy. But how does God look at sin? You could ask, what is his issue with sin? First of all, let's think for a moment. How did he decide what deeds he will call sin and what won't be sin? Now, did he make a decision and said to himself, well, I want to be a spoilsport and label everything that is fun or even slightly connected to any excitement as sin? No, he decided to label and define sin as every deed we do that will hurt us and other people in the end. What is his approach to sin? If the enemy wants us to focus on the beginning, what does God focus on? He is looking at the end of sin and not the short pleasure I could experience in the beginning of the sin. How does God look at sin? He looks at sin as a process. Sin has a beginning, a time you go through suffering and consequences, and the end that is sometimes life-altering with permanent and irreversible changes. I could start with a short period of joy, but I will end up with long-term consequences and pain. It might have started with pleasure, yes, but ends with destruction, and that's where God wants us to focus on. James 1:13. And remember, when you are being tempted, do not say, God is tempting me. God is never tempted to do wrong, and He never tempts anyone else. Temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us and drag us away. These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. You see, here sin is described as a process. Have you ever thought about that? God is showing you His love by showing you how intensely He hates sin. When He looks at sin and temptation, He does not want us to struggle. He doesn't want us to suffer in the consequences of our sin. And that is why He hates sin so much. This is proof that He loves me more than I love myself. Just think about it. I will say yes to sin even if it kills me. He does not agree with me and loves me so much that He will continuously tell me to say no to that nasty temptations, because He's looking at the end and not like we are looking at the beginning. He loves us so much. So how am I supposed to deal with sin? I need to learn how to look at my temptations through God's eyes. Lord, show me the whole process from the beginning right through to the end. You see, it's like having a sinus drip because I am allergic to dairy products. But I say, I cannot say no to this double thick milkshake. But now if I start to look at the whole process, the nice sweet cold milkshake in the beginning, but I look through the whole headache process and the sinus and the trouble I go through with that all, then I can make an easy decision to say no for that milkshake. And looking at the experience, yes, it has a nice beginning, but the suffer afterwards inspire me rather to say no. And the same, I must say, teach me while I look at my previous sins to recognize the whole process. Train me to see the process ahead of time when I face a new temptation, so that I can easily say no to that temptation. Yes, I need to ask God to teach me how He sees things. It's like learning to walk again after being in a bad accident. I need to retrain my mind to look at temptation differently, so that when I experience the consequences of sin, that I will learn from the whole process. That when I walk around with my headache, that I will remind myself that it was still part of the process as a whole, and next time to remember not to say yes and to realize that it's not worth it. I need to look at the process and identify the temptation that I faced with a beginning, a middle and an end. And even though the beginning looks so strong, that the whole process will teach me that it's not worth it. I must learn to say no and look at the end result and say, this headache, I do not want it in my life. This consequences, it's too bad. I do not want it. Lord, yes, I know that I will still fall into temptations from time to time. But I pray that you will start opening my eyes, so that I will look at the beginning of sin and see the suffering and consequences right to the end, so that it will help me step by step to get rid of my sins. Lord, give me the right eyes to see the process from the beginning right through to the end, and teach me to love myself the way you love me when I look at temptation. Lord, out of your heart you shout to me, do not do it. May I learn to love myself the way you do when I have a temptation before me.